Hey, Jen. So I'm calling the Thursday, December 2nd, 2021 Greenbelt Advisory Commission to order. This is an electronic meeting, and the meeting is held electronically to protect public health and safety due to the COVID-19 virus and to comply with orders issued by the governor, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and or the Washtenaw County Health Department. We intend to conduct this meeting similarly to an in-person meeting. However, please be patient if there are technical issues. Public comment will be via telephone only. Please know that if you are watching this meeting live online, there is a 30-second delay. To speak during any of the public comment opportunities, please call 1-877-853-5247 and enter meeting ID 941-0420-8673. Again, that number to call is 877-853-5247 and enter meeting ID number 941-0420-8673. This information is also available on the published agenda in the public notices section of the city website and on the broadcast of this meeting on CTN channel 16, AT&T channel 99, and online at a2gov.org/watch CTN. Please note that if you do call in for public comment, you must enter *6 to unmute yourself. Okay. I'm going to do a roll call to see who's here, and I am Chairperson Fike, and I'm here from in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Commissioner Armstrong?
Here in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Commissioner Riggs?
Here and calling in from Ann Arbor.
Commissioner Lillard?
Here, I'm calling in from Ann Arbor.
Commissioner Bloomer?
Here, I'm calling in from Ann Arbor.
Councilperson Grant?
Here in Ann Arbor.
Commissioner Gordon? Absent. Commissioner Schuler? And Commissioner Boggs. Okay. Moving on is approval of the agenda. Does someone want to make a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thanks, Dee. And support?
Support.
Thanks, Roseanne. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
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 The agenda is approved. Moving on to approval of the minutes. Does someone want to why don't we take a look and read the minutes from the Thursday, November 4th meeting real quick?
I'd like to make a motion to approve those minutes as written.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Is there second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilperson Grant. And further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 The minutes are approved. Next item on the agenda is public commentary. And Remy, do you see anybody waiting?
Yeah, today we've got Jay Gerhardt from MSU Extension with us for public comment. It's a little out of form, but I'm going to admit her to the meeting and so she can make her comment to everyone.
Okay, and I think I'm gonna read the notice about public comment, so I'm going to do that now. We will now hold public comment. Public comment will be via telephone only. Please know that if you're watching this meeting live online, there is a 30-second delay. And again, to call in for public comment is 877-853-5287 and enter meeting ID 941-0420-8673. Okay, Jay.
Hi, everyone. Sorry that I'm doing this a little unconventionally, but thanks for having me here today. You're about to hear from Remy about the importance of these Buy, Protect, Sell programs and the critical link that they provide between the land, between like the land conservation and getting an easement on land and supporting new and beginning farmers, local and small farmers, as well as BIPOC producers, Black, Indigenous, people of color type producers who have hard access or hard time accessing land. He has some great data, both like national data and some local data, but I'm just here as a practitioner to kind of give my perspective, to provide support for the work that you guys are doing, and to encourage you to consider this as a new and an interesting way of moving forward. So as you can see on the screen, my name is Jay. I work for Michigan State University Extension as the local foods coordinator for Washtenaw County. What that means is that I help all farmers of all types make more transactions in our local markets. I'm not frozen, am I? You guys are still hearing me?
Yes.
Okay. So I help them with their business plans. I help them access financing, know who to call, who to talk to, help them with their marketing plans. Again, who to call, who to talk to, appropriate markets, help them with everything from post-harvest handling to food safety to get them ready to be good farmers, good sellers. So that's kind of my job here locally. I like to say that I know all the farmers. I have a huge list of 200 plus farmers now in Washtenaw County of various sizes. And the last time that I spoke at this commission, you guys were engaged in that midpoint assessment of the Greenbelt. And I believe that was this commission. And your consultants were sharing that the public was very supportive of like more Argus type farmers. And I was there on behalf of the Washtenaw Food Policy Council to kind of share what are Argus type farmers. These are the farmers who want like 10 acres of land. They don't want 100 acres of land. And they want to be close to the urban center, which is why this program is so important. I believe that this Buy, Protect, Sell strategy, which is used across the nation, is really the most effective way at doing that. And the reason is because when you add a conservation easement onto land, it makes the whole process of buying that land much more challenging. And just the time that it takes for that farmer to kind of work it out with that buyer can be so long that the buyers often are unwilling to do that. And I've seen a handful of farmers with these amazing opportunities just kind of falls apart when their financer, so like Greenstone or the FSA office at the USDA is like, okay, we need a purchase agreement. The seller doesn't necessarily want to do a purchase agreement without the conservation easement. There's all this chicken and the eggs kind of stuff that just draws the process out. So, you know, if an entity like you guys owned the land, you have a lot more patience to work with these farmers to help them get on the land and farm. And allow that process to take time with their financier. So I encourage you guys to, in your RFP, to think about the type of farmer that you're really going after. And I would really hope that that type of farmer is not the super duper new and beginning farmer, but rather the one that is going to be very ready for this type of opportunity. They might have been farming for 3 or more years so that they can have access to some of that financing support that's offered at Greenstone or at the USDA FSA office. That they have a marketing plan. We have many farmers here who are in that bracket, like they've been leasing land, they're just landless. And with this type of, with the types of farms that are local food farms, they really need to own the land because there's so much investment that goes into soil building on that site. If you guys are ever like wondering if there's enough demand, I can assure you that we are low on suppliers, to be quite honest. Argus is running out of suppliers. Acorn, a new market in Manchester, doesn't have enough farmers to fill their shelves. The St. Joe's food box program and the Argus food box program are also wondering where are these farmers? We're now building these bigger markets and we just need more farmers. And so giving the farmers that already exist more access to farmland and giving some of our new up and coming farms more access to farmland will just like help all of that and help our markets grow. So I think I've taken up enough of your time and you guys have probably a very full agenda. So I just want to thank you for allowing me to come on this way. And also just know that I'm a resource for you guys too. If you do have like ag questions or, you know, farmers come to you asking questions, I am your local foods coordinator to help kind of direct all those people to the right places. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Jay.
Thanks, Jay.
Okay, we are going to move on to the next item of the agenda, which is old business. And I don't see any old business on the agenda. And we're going to then move on to new business, which is looking at the 2022 GAC meetings. Remy, I didn't see a schedule of those meetings sent out.
There is. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
I can send it out just after this meeting, but yes, we have been given the okay to continue on with remote meetings through 2022. So there are some boards or commissions or city council that may or will need to meet in person as of now. But for now, our commission can continue on remote. So I just wanted to give you all that update and I'll send out the calendar soon. And as always, there's some conflicts, but we managed to cancel a few meetings each year. So hopefully we can strategically place those across the calendar.
Yeah, typically the meeting that falls the week of July 4th, typically if we have to meet, we in the past have moved that meeting to the following week. Or if you know, if there isn't a need to meet, then we cancel it. So, okay. Next item on the agenda is budget review.
Yeah, let me pull up our current spreadsheet. Has everyone seen the correct version of this? Yep. Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Full screen version. All right, so here's the city council approved slate of projects and our contributions. I've added some details on the specific project funding associated with each acquisition to the spreadsheet, whether a township, the county, a federal grant, or other agency is contributing some amount of money toward the acquisition, so that the relative match is put into some context. And so I just wanted to add that layer for you all. And again, nothing has changed, I believe, since our last meeting, and we are still in the black at over 200,000. And then soon, I believe, end of the year, calendar year, we'll see a reflected updated budget that accounts for new millage revenue as well. So we'll be well into the black. And any questions? We had 2 closings lined up for the end of this year, 3 closings, all of which are likely pushed into the first quarter of next year or second quarter even. Unfortunate federal review snafus, complications, but in all, we're still on track with a lot of our projects. Landowners continue to be frustrated by the timeline that it takes from application to close. I mean, it's the number one piece of feedback I receive on a week-to-week basis from all of the people we work with. But that is the cost of leveraging external funds. So I try to ask for patience and let folks know that that is standard. They are not an exception to the rule, as frustrating as it may be. Any questions on particular projects or the budget?
No, looks like busy quarter 1 and 2 next year.
Very busy quarter 2 for sure.
Any other questions, comments? Okay. All right, let's move on to the next item, which is the presentation on land access and buy, protect, sell transactions.
All right. Let's get this up. Everyone's seeing the right version?
Yes.
Great. Yes. So I wish Jay was able to provide public comment at the end of the meeting, but she was responding to, in anticipation of this presentation, I've worked closely with all of our conservation partners, the townships, the county, the nonprofit agencies, MSU Extension, the County Conservation District, and other community members. We've had extensive conversations over the last several years about the topic of affordable farmland access, which very clearly came up in our 2019 strategic plan update as an issue that folks were hoping the Greenbelt could more directly address. And then the innovations that have been playing out across the country and here in our partnership projects with Scioto Township through buy, protect, sell transactions. So it's time that we have an overview of what all of this means and how the problem statements are laid out. So first and foremost, what is affordable farmland access? Well, it's an issue that many farmers, young farmers across the nation are facing today. The land is essential to farming, and the location of that land determines farmers' market opportunities. And beyond just being your business, your land is also likely where you find your home. So this new generation of farmers is finding the number one challenge to starting their business and having secure business investment is finding that affordable piece of farmland. And given that farmland prices are at record highs and the land is becoming increasingly unaffordable, especially the land surrounding our cities, which have the highest demand for some regional food and fiber production from local farmers, the challenge is continues to grow year by year. And it's something we're aware of, but there's more we could potentially do. And in that, private land trusts and government agencies have been protecting farmland for decades, and that's all been wonderful. As you know, we've, with our partners over the last 20 years, added 20,000 acres of protected land to the Washtenaw County map. It's a huge achievement. But beyond protecting farmland, some people and agencies are shifting toward developing transaction models that help guarantee first and foremost, the preservation of the resource, the farmland itself, but also aim to help create secondary and tertiary benefits of supporting new and beginning farmers of connection to affordable pieces of land. So in all, these transactions and innovations have been used for many years and only recently are coming onto the scene here in Washtenaw County. So we have an opportunity at hand to be a leader in developing innovative models, transaction models to help address these issues. So in all, the problem statement being number one barrier for new and beginning farmers is affordable land access. We have 2/3 of US farmland changing hands in the next 25 years. So this looming succession crisis, if we don't find a solution of how to help facilitate the connections between the land and the new generation of farmers, only 8% of those farmers are under 35 and 34% are over 65. So we need to help support and create viable opportunities for people to know that this is a business they can engage with. And the land component of that calculus is very important. Only 2% of private farmland in the US is owned by farmers of color or BIPOC individuals. And only 13% of farms are owner-operator, strictly female owner-operator farms. As well, layered on top of all of this problem is that much of the farmland in the United States is actually owned by people that are not doing the farming themselves. It's a landlord situation. So we a lot of groups recognize all of these problems and want to address them through their entities' holistic work. So the National Young Farmers Coalition has been leading the policy, the advocacy, the capacity building, the training associated with moving conservation organizations toward not just protecting the resource, but protecting the culture and supporting the new generation. So in summation, they say we must eliminate the inequities in ownership and access, protect farmland for producers, facilitate affordable, secure land tenure, and support farm viability and transition. And I just think that that's a really nice synopsis of the problem. So bringing it from the national scale, at which National Young Farmers Coalition advocates for, Jay Gerhardt at MSU Extension did help our community, all the conservation organizations and the County Conservation District and others, better understand the actual needs and demands of the folks that we're aiming to serve or connect with. And so this was a survey of new and beginning farmers in the region, most in Washtenaw County, but some beyond. And so these are some of the more pertinent questions that I wanted to share with you and the responses that were received. So we obviously there's a high demand for actively seeking farmland in Washtenaw County. Some folks did attempt and were lucky enough to find what they were looking for, and others did not find and have not since tried. In this, what kind of farmland are they seeking? I want to create or define for you the distinction in a survey between farm and land. And land is the resource, tillable ground available for farming and cultivation, whereas farm is the resource plus infrastructure and a home. So some folks are looking to be able to live on the parcel that they farm, others it's not as important. But in general, what I take away from responses to this particular question is that while there is some interest in long-term leases, it is far and away more there's far and away more demand for eventual ownership, whether it be lease to own or actually purchasing outright that land. Some are looking for incubator programs, which are generally available through MSU and U of M and others. But the end goal is that ownership and that security of permanent land tenure and also the intergenerational wealth building opportunity it means to actually own land instead of long-term lease. So, and then we specifically talked about conserved land and whether or not that's of interest to these people in the community that we're aiming to connect with. And far and away, the answer is yes, there is interest. It's either I'm aware of conserved land and what its benefits are for affordable farmland access, or no, I'm not. I don't know much about that, but that sounds very interesting and I want to learn more. And very few respondents saying I'm not interested in that type of land. So we obviously have a space to work to fulfill a demand. And then what is the challenge? So where is that overlap of the affordable land and the new and beginning farmers happening? Or what are those pinch points and challenges? So it's finding something that fits in their budget, which obviously in the protection of the land, we are creating the most affordable opportunity that one could find without driving hours to their markets. And then finding farmland that fits desired specifications. As you know, many of the properties in the Greenbelt portfolio are on average 70 to 120 acres in size. We protect larger parcels, but the actual demand for parcel types is more in the range of 5 to 15 acres. As you know, programmatically, I've always placed great emphasis on trying to find projects 25 acres and above, because it's a lot of paperwork to add even just 5, 10, 15 acres to the map. But if there can be some balance associated with, our space or how we can manage that space, maybe 25 acres is in high demand, especially at the protected value that we could offer. So this is everything that's been done to date. It's nearly 140 properties protected, which amounts to nearly 10,000 acres added to the map of farmland available for the next generation. But what's key to this is what I said before, which is all of those pieces are owned by private landowners who have the choice of how they would like that farm to transfer. It can be sold on the open market, sold to a friend, left to a family. They might know the neighbor who they want to take over the property. So in all, we've protected a large space to create the farm economy or maintain the farm economy in this region. But we are not playing that active role in facilitating the transfer to folks that would produce food and fiber for meeting several other goals that the city of Ann Arbor holds through its Office of Sustainability and Climate 820 initiative. So as we heard in 2019, we are interested in protecting fertile soil and innovative farming practices for the next generation, creating affordable farmland, enabling small farms to be viable, so that we can see that long-term viability of our agricultural economy, as well as those secondary and tertiary benefits of the conservation work we're doing, multiply and branch out from just strictly resource conservation. So here's the summary of how I view those two parties meeting. One, as I mentioned earlier, is chance. Maybe an affordable conserved parcel will end up in new and beginning or socially disadvantaged farmer hands by way of market demand and availability. The other method is a Landlink program, and Landlink programs exist across the United States. It is essentially a real estate platform with some capacity training or building often baked into it, that helps land seekers connect with folks that want to list their either conserved or high priority conservation parcel for sale. And in some regions, this is a well-funded operation. It's a fine-tuned machine that does connect, dozens, if not hundreds, of land seekers to conserved parcels or priority conservation parcels, so that an agency knows that in facilitating and supporting that transaction, there's a future viability for pursuing an easement on that property. But in Michigan, this is a platform that has been attempted twice, and both times has not been fruitful. Both platforms did fail or are not operating, essentially. There's a multitude of reasons for that. Some they were regional. The funding ran out. Administration was cumbersome or not well thought out. There is a new initiative, a statewide is the prospective, scale, which is great instead of regional. A statewide initiative that will try to create a new Landlink platform in the state of Michigan, and its biggest challenge will be finding and sourcing listings, because that's what makes or breaks these platforms, is willing sellers who are willing to wait and work with the platform to find that farmer to connect with. And so while we can obviously advocate with our landowners to work with a Landlink platform, there's no guarantee, and we have no leverage to force them to do so. And so that's the limitations of the tool. We've conserved the land, but we are not able to insert ourselves in any process of land transfer. The only other method by which to accomplish the connection and bridge the gap between these two things is by protect sell transactions. And that's why it's a model being used by so many conservation agencies now as an innovative tool to address this problem. So what is a buy, protect, sell transaction? Finally, we're here. I've been saying it for like 20 minutes. A buy, protect, sell transaction is where a conservation entity like the City of Ann Arbor or Scioto Township or Legacy Land Conservancy goes out and actually purchases a property outright, not just the development rights encumbering it, but actually purchases the property itself. It's typically a high value, vulnerable priority conservation parcel. It's not just any old parcel there is. It's got to meet the criteria of the program's conservation goals, but also make sense from a marketability standpoint for the new and beginning farmers that you would hope to tie to the piece. So after the title is taken by the conservation agency, there's a number of ways these transactions can evolve. An agency may determine that, say, for instance, a 50-acre piece with a home and a residence is perfectly suitable in itself in its current form for just an easement on that full 50 acres and then a sale to a new and beginning farmer. Or maybe the agency says, we could actually enhance the outcomes of affordable land access by creating two opportunities, by splitting it into two 25-acre farms, if that's what the community in that region demands. Those opportunities are vetted by the agency and presented and processed with the government interest of the agency and the growers to allow for those limit. We do in most of the transactions that we work on. Sorry, I'm getting an unstable connection. Are you with me?
I can hear you now.
Little hiccup, but we got the gist of what you were saying, or at least I did.
Okay.
Speak up if you didn't.
Okay.
Now I think you might be frozen.
Yeah, I think I've lost it.
And here on
Okay, you're caught up?
Yes,
Hmm,
you're just
I
not,
think I'm
you're
behind.
not moving. But
Maybe turn off your video so that
All
the
right.
focus can go on the voice audio.
Yeah, does that work a little bit better?
yes,
Yes.
All right, here we go. So the conservation agency also
It's a little choppy
facilitates
here.
RFP here.
Other folks here, Remy?
no, it's choppy.
Yeah, me too. Remy, you might need to call in. I don't know if that's an option.
I think he's also leading the meeting.
Oh,
City
that's sort of
person.
I'm the one sharing the presentation.
Keep talking, Remy. See,
Oh boy.
oh, we can hear you now. Keep talking.
Yeah. Okay, let's try this. Maybe a little less intense slide. To define what the opportunity is, and then acquire the interest on the final financial contributions, which portion is toward the fee and which portion toward the development. Agreed upon via participation agreement, and then, if necessary, is like RFP process initiated, and the city of GAC or whatever bodies townships review would be the one to all of the proposals that are submitted to the agency, and then a simultaneous sale of the farm protected with a conservation easement. And in this scenario, we'd be looking at instead of a $250,000 25-acre piece of farmland, each opportunity would have been through the restricted affordability component. Sounds. Okay.
Still there, Remy?
Yes, I'm still here if you can hear me.
Yes,
Yes.
we can hear you. Take a
I'm so
deep breath. You're
sorry.
doing a lot of talking.
Yeah. I might try the call-in method, but I'm not sure if that's going to help much.
good now.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay, so I'm sorry if that was broken. I hope you're following the logic via the presentation. But effectively, the next steps would be that any conservation agency interested in pursuing a buy, protect, sell transaction, I feel needs 3 documents at minimum. A policy as the standards for what those transactions will meet, guidance, which isn't necessarily standard operating procedures, but a framework for the questions that a governing body would need to ask and staff would need to ask in order to properly understand the opportunity at hand and how to run a transaction. And then the RFP template, which is the public facing document that needs to be well understood and clear as to what the requirements are of any applicant when an RFP is issued. I can say that who needs to review these? Thankfully, all of these partners, the city attorney's office, Washtenaw County, and MSU Extension have all reviewed these documents that I sent to you last week and have given them the thumbs up. So these documents are good to go in our partners' eyes and in the city attorney's office's eyes. And then finally, the last step would be that you adopt or ratify these documents. Of course, they can be edited on a continual basis if necessary. And some of them are built for that purpose, like the RFP template, which will be customized on a parcel by parcel basis. But should we want to engage with this work, this is the minimum set of guidance and standards that I would propose the Greenbelt adopt in order to effectively engage with this work.
Thanks, Remy. Very comprehensive, and looks like you've done your homework as far as the review and bringing in partners and getting their feedback and vetting as well. Are there questions for Remy?
Well, I have some comments. I've thought a lot about this. As many of you know, I worked for Greenstone Farm Credit as a commercial loan officer for 40 years. And my experience really is that for very small farms, it's very difficult for them to generate enough income to support a family. And that's what I would be concerned about, that on 25 acres, does it really have long-term sustainability, and how many they really have to be able to generate income above a common market. So they have to have either value added to the products that they're producing, or they have to have a lot of customers who are willing to pay a real premium for their prices. And I think there is a limited market for that. Frankly, the most successful young farmers I've seen succeed have partnered with existing farmers. So as an example, they went to work for an existing farmer, and that farmer, as a part of his compensation package, maybe gave that young farmer 10 acres that he could work and utilize his equipment. So he didn't have a big capital investment, and he was able then to save funds from that 10 acres as pure profit and then buy acreage. And I can give you one example of one young man who started working for a farmer with nothing, and he now owns 200 acres, and he has a very viable business. I think that a lot of our preserved land, the owners of that land are older. And if you could partner these young farmers with those older farmers who are looking to retire in a few years, and they could utilize their capital and build equity so that they can then buy into that business. I really think that there's a lot to be said for trying to have this network to partner young farmers with older farmers who are looking to retire in the next 5 to 10 years. And I think that that is the real benefit that we have done in adding conservation easements to these good farms. That's all I have to say. I'm a little skeptical about the long-term viability of very small farms. They just don't seem to be able to, some of them do, but I think it's a rare, I don't think it's the norm. I just don't think they can have a large enough gross income to build equity and to provide family living, health insurance, all those things that are very expensive today. That's all I have.
Well, thank you for that feedback, Roseanne. I mean, you worked for Greenstone Farm Credit, I think your entire career.
Yeah.
So that perspective is, comes from a lot of experience, and I appreciate your perspective. And I think that in my opinion, that I think that's really important if there's the ability to have a partnership with an existing farm business to be able to assist that next generation. But I think doing the buy, protect, sell would be like a yes and. So, yes, pursue the buy, protect, sell, and as much as we can, assist in these partnerships, helping make those connections with the existing farm businesses as much as we can through Jay's work at MSU Extension and through Remy's work on the Greenbelt Commission, and then with our connections in the community as well. And also, I wanted to mention a couple of thoughts. A couple of years ago, when there was a change in council, we heard from, and when we were going through the strategic planning process and we presented to council on what the outcome of that was, there was, the city council expressed a great desire to be able to, as part of the Greenbelt program, protect land that can be used for farming for local markets. That was a great desire of the council members. And what we've heard at we did the focus groups in the community as well. And we were hearing that from them as well. So this is one step in that process as well, is trying to, because again, like you said, Roseanne, most of the farmers that are growing local food are the small players. They're the small players, and they don't need 50 acres. 25 is large for a venture like that. And access to capital, access to land is the most difficult part in the process. So I think that going back to what City Council's desire is, this meets one of the criteria that they had laid out for the direction that the Greenbelt should move in for the second half of our program, the second half of the millage. As many of you know, I used to work Roseanne was a board member for a local food organization that was working on agricultural economic development. And back in 2012, we did a study about what were some of the barriers to entry for small and beginning farmers. And access to land kept coming out as number one: access to land, access to capital. And so I feel like the city stepping into this space to help try and solve it. And I don't think that we're going to be able to solve all of the challenges of farming, but this is one step in that direction to help to do what we can to make it viable. And one other thing, Remy had mentioned the Office of Sustainability, and that's one of their key issues, is trying to promote local food and local markets as much as possible to cut down on the carbon footprint of getting our food. So that's my comments. And do we have others? Oh, wait, one other thing. Jason apologized that he couldn't attend the meeting today, but he wanted to share his thoughts. And so I'm just going to go ahead and read what Jason sent to me via email. And I do want to, so this is quoting from Jason. I do want to share my support for the Buy, Protect, Sell initiative being proposed. I believe it to be one of the best methods to achieve the many goals of the Greenbelt Advisory Commission, and of the community. The possibility of furthering the ability to help BIPOC farmers is what makes it even more important. Please, and then he asked me to share this with you all. So, other comments, questions?
Yeah, I have a comment and then a question. The comment is, Remy, thanks so much for all of your work on this, the research and lining it up, and the clear presentation. So I think it's a very compelling tool for the commission to consider. And I was feeling similarly to Jen, your comment about this being a yes and opportunity. So clearly the details need to be worked out to make this as successful and a tool as possible for doer farmers. But I think, yes, I'm interested in seeing if we can make this happen. My question is, or request is that, maybe Remy, can you describe what the backstop is, in the case that this program's established and there are farmers selected and they go through the whole RFP process. If they're not able to make a viable go at it, what does that look like in terms of transferring the land? Does it come back to the commission? Does it go back out on the market? How does that land remain farmable?
That's a great question. And so the best part is that the bottom line here is we've added protected land to the map. We continue to fulfill our mission no matter what. But what we're doing through engaging in a transaction modeled like this is adding the potential for increased benefits in addition to at a baseline protecting land, transferring it to farmers of color or beginning or helping be that intermediary between the generations in a direct, we have agency over some of that process way, which is great. But the bottom line is the land will be protected. And in addition to securing the conservation easement, the city could secure a 40-year right of first refusal over the property that then if those new and beginning farmers that were selected or the buyers that were selected choose to get out of the business and sell the land, the city still has the opportunity to insert ourselves in the process to then pick up the land again, protected, and then resell through a similar RFP process. So we can't guarantee necessarily that they will sign that right of first refusal, and we can work on ways to incentivize that for sure. And I think many who would be seeking land would understand the value in engaging with us in that added layer of protection in facilitating an ongoing affordable land access opportunity. So the backstop at minimum is that we've added land to the map. And then there are other tools that we can engage with to continue the process onward if the first attempt on that particular parcel doesn't succeed. And in it, I just want to note that I've never envisioned this being, this isn't to supplant, the entirety of the mission or portfolio of work that the Greenbelt engages in. We're committed to a multi-million-dollar RCPP to protect large swaths of farmland throughout multiple watersheds. And we will continue to partner with our local orgs on prime conservation lands that are in all shapes and sizes. But if this even becomes one transaction out of 10 in our pipeline, we're over the next 13 or 12 years, we could facilitate 12 to 25 affordable land access opportunities for new and beginning farmers and really move the needle on facilitating the actualization of two realms that are otherwise going unaddressed directly by our program. And so in addition to Jen's comment about this meeting, the sustainability goals associated with local food of the Office of Sustainability and Innovations, I also want to note that this is one of the direct ways that we can realize diversity, equity, and inclusion goals associated with Greenbelt work, which is not something that most people tie together. I mean, it seems very truncated, and this is one method by which we can help expand the impact of our work to meet those objectives as well, citywide.
Remy.
Other questions? Sheila, looks like Sheila.
Yeah.
has-
Hi, and I was actually present for the presentation, though you didn't see me as a panelist. I'm sorry that I had to arrive late. Remy, outstanding job in pulling this all together and in creating the documents and getting the approval on the documents that are necessary for this. I just had a question around what Roseanne raised in the issue of parcel size and what's sustainable, and looking through the policy document, the other guidance documents that you created and what you had mentioned, would we create policy around the size of these parcels such that they would always be small, or is there any advantage to making, how can you make them both affordable, but possibly increase that sustainability to make them larger, or give priority to farmers who say have a 25-acre parcel to purchase an adjacent 25-acre parcel? Like, is there any thought on that size policy? The acreage
Yeah, the presentation was very heavy on the concept of targeting small scale agricultural production. And I think that is actually a limited view of what this tool can facilitate. I am all ears on a potential buy, protect, sell project that involves 120 acres. And with the express purpose of the RFP being it be sold for whatever purpose is most compelling to the Greenbelt Advisory Commission in reviewing the proposals. It doesn't have to mandate local food production, but maybe it details the practices that they'll engage with. And maybe we find that very compelling from a water quality lens. It's not that everything we engage with needs to be broken down to the smallest opportunity to create the highest number of opportunities for affordable land access. We very well might find, it's the right parcel for staying in commodity ag, given its location in the community. And currently it's up for sale, and we want to act quickly and we want to play a role. That's more of what Scioto Township has been doing. Their buy, protect, sell transactions are not focused on local food production, DEI objectives, new and beginning farmers, none of that. It's been a nice benefit that the April farm that they purchased did end up in sort of regenerative ag practice hands, but that was by no means the primary goal. So it was to stop that property from being developed. And we could engage with the tool in that way. I have hesitations in some regards to that because of price. I think selectively picking off priority parcels that are maybe for sale and moderately threatened, that aren't on the city limits and going to cost $3.5 million might be better strategic use of our funds. But we'll see as opportunities arise. So I'm sorry if I only indicated that this is strictly for one group of people or one type of farming. It's just a methodology, and it can be applied across an array of variables.
Other questions or comments?
My only other question was just from precedents or other places that this has been used. Do you have any sense, Remy, of how challenging or not challenging that process is of going through the RFPs, of sort of deciding on eligibility or issues on that process? Given that you're saying now too, it could be open to a wide range of farmers, like how that's selected? Yeah,
it sounds like so there are some agencies that don't need an RFP process. Nonprofits are not bound to that. But if we're a public agency and we're going to engage with this, it's very important that we facilitate a public RFP and are transparent and careful about that outsale criteria. So the template I provided for you drew heavily on multiple templates from the Northeast area that have successful buy, protect, sell programs. So those are some of the criteria and the higher level categories that were addressed in each one. And all of those more finer tune items, whether it be show an income of 5,000 or more per year, for the last 3 years, we can adjust all of that and work closely with our partners at Greenstone, MSUE, everywhere to make sure that we are fine tuning this to be reasonable and applicable to our local markets and really what it'll take, make or break, to make a business work around this region. I don't want anyone to flop going in on one of these, but I always do appreciate that the bottom line is that we'll still have achieved our goal. And this is only one tool in our larger toolkit and portfolio of work where we will continue to protect large swaths of agricultural land, but enhance potentially through this one methodology outcomes. But I can share other templates from other places, but generally speaking, this isn't being done in Michigan yet. We would be right on the cusp, the cutting edge with Scioto Township on pushing the envelope with this. And I can tell you that I've talked with Heart of the Lakes, which is the State Association of Land Trusts here in Michigan, about this and our intent to at least propose this to the Greenbelt Advisory Commission and gauge whether or not you want to engage with this transaction model. And they were very excited. I mean, it's something they've been pushing many land trusts across the state to do. But there is some reluctance because from the nonprofit standpoint, the fundraising capacity to do the acquisition and outsale and staffing is a luxury we don't necessarily have to worry as much about because we have that guaranteed millage funding. So it's new territory that we have that financial flexibility to go explore. And thankfully, given the way our millage is written, we have the legal flexibility to do this as well, which is amazing.
Other questions?
I do have one, but if there's someone else who hasn't asked yet, I will defer. Okay.
You're up.
So this is less a question about the buy, protect, sell, and more, Remy, about the Venn diagram that you shared in the presentation. And you mentioned the Landlink platform and that that can help achieve, some of these outcomes that a buy, protect, sell program would as well. Is there anything more you can say about the Landlink platform that might be happening at the state level? I think that's what you said. Just curious to know, how this might fit within that effort.
So I can tell you that the two prior platforms are, I don't know if the word is defunct or not, but they're not in operation or being maintained necessarily, or at least not advantageously to the desired outcomes. The one that I'm talking about is called MI Farmlink, and it is a website or a platform that was paid for through a grant received by the Ottawa County Economic Development Corporation, which is, they do some farmland protection work over on the west side of the state. And so they received their grant for this platform and they've built it out. They hired a contractor to build out the platform and make it look really nice and professional. And I can say it certainly does. And please visit the site to see it. The challenge now is twofold. It's one, to begin generating listings, which not being in the realtor community conservation practitioners necessarily or being embedded in it. There's that relationship that needs to be well established among realtors, knowing that if they have a potential client interested in selling, that there's the realtor community, there's the landowner community, there's the conservation community that all needs to be brought up to speed on the availability of this platform and how to use it. But the other challenge is that the Ottawa County Economic Development Corporation does not be the long-term steward of this platform. They need to find someone else to be its manager and owner. So they are currently seeking a statewide entity to take over its management, which would include soliciting grant funds on a continual basis to administer it. So it's going to be, not easy necessarily. There's certainly potential with several different statewide partners who may be the right folks to take on that platform and its management, but right now that partner is not yet identified. So the long-term success of this particular iteration of a Farmland program in the state of Michigan is still TBD, and we are by all means interested in promoting it, and I will continue to try to do that with the folks that I interact with, but it's definitely in transition and in flux currently.
Thank you.
Any additional questions? Okay, I don't see any. I would like to, based on the discussion, make a motion to adopt these standards as policy and guidance and allow staff to move forward on these arrangements. Is there support? Or thank you, Elizabeth. Is there further discussion? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 And opposed. Motion carries. Thank you all for that fruitful discussion. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, which is next agenda items. Does anybody have anything for the next agenda item? Okay, one thing that I wanted to mention that I failed to mention at the beginning of the meeting is congratulations to Elizabeth Lillard, who was recently married, thus not being able to attend the last meeting.
That's a valid excuse. Congratulations, Elizabeth.
Thank you very much.
The next item on the agenda is a closed session to discuss land acquisition, of which we will need a roll call vote. And Chairperson Fike, I say yes. Commissioner Armstrong.
Yes.
Commissioner Riggs.
Yes.
Commissioner Lillard.
Yes.
Commissioner Bloomer.
Yes.
Commissioner Schuler.
Yes.
Councilperson Grand.
Yes.
And I don't know if I say the other commissioners' names who aren't here. No, okay. So we are moving into closed session now. See you all soon. before? Does someone want to make a motion to come back from closed session?
So moved.
Support?
Support.
Thanks. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Back from closed session. Okay, and we have no other. Oh, wait. Public commentary. Is there anybody that you can see, Remy? All right. And the communications committee, I don't know that they have met. No, so no report from communications. I will report that the executive committee meeting, the members of the executive committee met the Wednesday before Thanksgiving to talk about the agenda for this meeting. And we had a preview of the presentation that Remy presented to you all. And last on the agenda is adjournment. Does someone want to make a motion to adjourn?
I do. I move to adjourn the
Steve?
meeting.
Support?
Support.
Thanks, Sheila. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Very
you.
interesting.
Great work,
Very
Remy.
work.
Really awesome.
Thank you, Remy.
Very
Great
exciting.
work.